The truth is, I have no idea how to greet you tonight. So I apologize. I think for some of us, there were a few times this year that we really felt and thought that we wouldn't be here for Tisha B'Av. There were moments of elation and revelation, of Hashem's hand being revealed, the success of our soldiers, the success miraculously. There were moments that we felt that it might be at the end. We might not be in Boca Raton, sitting on the floor again. So what to say on this particularly painful year of hope and anticipation and yearning and wanting, and miracles and pain and sadness and brokenness. This past week up in Camp Masorah, there was a family that showed up to camp that hadn't been there for the first month of the summer. Some of you might recognize the name. The father's name is Hanan El-Gez. You might remember that name because it was on the news, and you might remember it because a couple of months ago we were raising money for him and for his family. Because that was the guy that was driving his wife, who was in labor to have their fourth child, and was shot at by Palestinian terrorists, Yimach Shemam. And she didn't survive. And she managed to give birth to her baby. And her last dying wish was to name the baby Ravid Chaim. For a few weeks, that baby held on to life until he too could not continue in this world, and his neshama went up to Shamayim. And so this week, when the Gez family, Hanan and his 3 boys, showed up in camp, I saw his face, and I had seen it on the news. And we schmoozed a little bit. You know, what do you say? And on Wednesday night, I walked into the cafeteria, and I understood a pasuk in Eicha that I've never understood before. Echa yashva badad. Ha'ira basi'am. You know what it means to sit by yourself? When there's 1,000 people around you. You're sitting at a table. It was like make your own sushi for dinner, and he's sitting there with a piece of seaweed and some rice, trying to roll it into like a thing of kani sushi. And it was like there's Israelis that were coming up to him and saying hello and shalom aleichem and shmuzing. You know, what do you say to a man whose whole world is now over and is hanging on? It's like there was this perimeter around him. Hayisaka almana, to sit like a bereaved spouse, literally. Ein la menachem mikol haveha, no comfort from all those that loved her, says the Navi about Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim alone, bereft. Nobody to help, nobody to cry. So I walked up to Hanan and I sat down with him. I said to him, you know, how's it going? So he says, you know, it's going okay. My kids are having fun so far. His 4-year-old was watching cartoons with my Yiddi. You know, they're making friends. It's good for them, he says to me. And then he says to me, what do you do? So I say, you know, I'm a rabbi, live in Boca Raton. He says, and your wife? I said, my wife is a therapist. And then he looks at me and goes, you know, my wife was also a therapist. What do I say? So I shut up. What do you say when a guy looks at you and says, yeah, my wife that was murdered? And she was like your wife. I used to have a wife. So I said to him, Hanan, no, I'm going back to Boca Raton. Your whole life is a Tisha B'Av right now. What should I tell them? What should I tell the Chevra in Boca? And then he started speaking for the next 2 hours. And we sat together and we laughed and we cried. And I want to share with you 3 things there's a billion things that I learned from him on Wednesday night, and I want to share with you 3 of them. He spoke to me about emunah, about faith in Hashem. And he said to me that a lot of people have been asking him, Hanana, how do you have so much faith in Hashem? After you saw your wife murdered in front of your eyes, and you saw your baby die a short while later, and you're alone to raise 3 boys by yourself. How do you still believe in God? How are you still, and he's going around the world now, he's talking about this. And he's talking about the courage of the Jewish people and the fight of the Jewish people. He said to me, Rabbi, I don't know how to explain this other than I feel like Hashem has given me a lottery ticket. I said, what? He said, a lottery ticket. He speaks perfect English. His family made Aliyah when he was 16. I thought I was misunderstanding. I said, Hanan, what do you mean a lottery ticket? So he said, it's the worst lottery in the world. But you know, the whole world today wants a platform. The whole world wants to be an influencer, wants to share their message. And Hashem chose me to share a message. People now want to hear what I have to say. He said, and I know that if I share the message that Hashem wants me to share, he said to me, I know that there will be another wife for me, and there will be more children. And that Hashem has a beautiful life planned for me. And if I throw all of that away, I will go up to Shamayim after 120, and Hashem will say to me, Hananel, I gave you a lottery ticket. And with that, you were going to do great things in the world, as painful as this was. And He will show to me the wife that I was going to marry, and the children that I was going to have, and the success and the simcha that I was going to experience. And Hashem will be disappointed with me. And my wife Tzila will be disappointed with me. How could I throw away the life that Hashem has given me? That was lesson number 1. It's the lesson of Tisha B'Av, it's the lesson of Eicha, that it's painful, but it's not the end. And then lesson number 2. The halacha is on Tisha B'Av, we don't really daven. We say the davening, but we don't say Tehillim. We don't add Mishaberachs. Tonight at the end of Mariv, we will not say V'ata Kadosh Shevti Lo Yishal, that Hashem is accepting the prayers of the Jewish people, because Chazal tell us tonight is not. The Navi says, Sosam Tfilasi, I'm not accepting your tefillas right now. And so he said to me that a friend of his called him up a few weeks ago and said, Hananel, can you please pray for my wife? And he gave him the name. And he said, sure, what's going on with your wife? He said, she's struggling a lot with the war and with the children and the army, and he says, and miluim, and going back and forth, and she's been going through a very, very rough time. He says, and tonight she tried to hang herself. Can you please pray for my wife? So he said to him, no, I will not pray for your wife. He said, what do you mean you will not pray for my wife? He said, I'm not praying for her. I'm getting in the car now, I'm driving to your house, and we're getting a therapist for her. She doesn't need prayer. She needs a refuah. She doesn't need words. She needs action. He said, and my friend was in shock because he was dealing with all of this, and he just was reaching out for tefillah. He says, you're in shock right now. You don't need prayers. You need action. He said, like Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, Ma titzak elai, don't daven. Daber el bnei Yisrael v'yisol. Tell them to move. Tell them to go. Now it's not a time for prayer. Now it's a time for action. No more words. Time for deeds. He said, because I know what it is to lose your wife. He says, and I have no survivor's guilt. I did everything I could. And Hashem chose that this was the moment that she should leave the world. And I'm grateful to Hashem that He didn't put her through years of cancer and pain until she died. Hashem said, it's the time for her to die. She died al Kiddush Hashem. He said, but if your wife takes her life because you didn't get her help, you'll never forgive yourself. Stop praying and start doing. The avodah of Tisha B'Av is not to pray. It's to focus on what needs to get done. There's time for tears. But the goal of Tisha B'Av is to create a plan of action. That this will be the last one. And then we spoke for a long time until his oldest son, who's the same age as my Dovi, he came past. He started fighting with his brothers over who gets to play the game on the phone. And then he walked away and he said to me, he said, that one's having the hardest time. I said, I'm sure. He said, but before we got on the plane, a few days before, we were having a fight, he said to me. We were having a fight. He says, and my boy said to me, Abba, I'm so upset with you. You're the worst father in the world. You're the worst father in the world. You don't let me do this and you don't let me do that. And he said, I'm going to tell the therapist about you. Hanana looked at me and he said, and I was the happiest I've been in months, because he finally said he was going to talk to the therapist. He said he was going to talk. I've been begging him to go to the therapist for 2 months. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to speak. Sweet boy with a smile on his face, running around and yelling at his brothers. He doesn't want to talk. And he says, I'm angry with you. I'm going to tell the therapist. And that says, Pinchas Koretz, is the deepest secret of Tisha B'Av. Is it's true that Hashem as Hashem is not listening to our tefillos. But he says, when we sit on the floor in Tisha B'Av, we sit right next to the Shekhinah. The presence of Hashem is sitting next to us, is crying with us. Hashem, the King of Kings, is not accepting our tefillos, but Hashem, the therapist, is absolutely. He says, when you tell Hashem, the Shekhinah, the therapist sitting next to you, all of the problems that you have in the world, He's listening more than ever. Because you say, Hashem, I'm mad at you, and I'm sad, and I'm angry. And you're the only one that can help me. So he says the deepest secret of Tisha B'Av is that whatever you really want most of the world, you can ask Hashem for tonight. Whatever the thing is that's bothering you the most, that's hurting you the most, that's the thing that you ask for. Because we're not the only ones crying tonight. Hashem says, I'm crying with you. Which is the secret of what Hashem says when the Jewish people cried on that very first Tisha B'Av. You cried for nothing. So I'll make this a night of tears for all generations. But the secret is you choose what tears. You choose if tonight is tears of being closest to Hashem as your therapist, or the tears of being furthest from Hashem in pain. And perhaps in this Tisha B'Av, the tears that we cry are the tears of Hashem, I'm so angry with you. I'm so upset with you. I'm so mad at you. I just want to talk to you. Because you're right next to me. So then maybe it will be time for Hashem to wipe the tears from Hananel's face and from his 3 beautiful boys. That he should be Zocher to Nechama, along with all the other widows and widowers of the Jewish people, and along with all of the other orphans, and the parents that have buried their children. And the wives that have buried their husbands, and the husbands that have buried their wives. The soldiers that are never going to be the same. The soldiers that cannot see and can't hear, they can't walk. The soldiers that can no longer have children. The fiancés that they went to funerals instead of weddings. Perhaps tonight, if we tell Hashem, the therapist, then maybe this will be the last year that we have to sit on the floor. We'll be able to find Eicha in the Artful Kinnos books, or at the back of the Blue Chumash.
You have the printouts, there's no Eicha in the printouts. So I got the Kinnos book or Chumash, and whoever are going to shoot printouts, please make sure they're on the table in the past.
Yehuda me'oni u'merov avodah ki yashva v'goyim lo matzah manoah torot ve'yisigua ben ha'metzarim darkei Tzion avilot מבלי בהם אוהב, כל שעריה שוממים, כהניה נאנחים, בתולותיה נוגות, והימר לה. היו צריה לראש, אויביה שאלו, כי אדוני הוגה, הרוב פשעיה, עולליה, הלכו שבי לפני צהר. ויצא מבת ציון כל הדרה, היו שריה, כי איילים לא מצאו מרעה, וילכו לכוח לפני רודת. זכרה ירושלים ימי עוניה ומרודיה, כל מחמודיה אשר היו מימי קדם. בנפול עמה ויצא, אין עוזר לה, ראו הצרים, שחקו על משפטיה. חטא חטא ירושלים, על כן לנדייתה. כל מכבדיה הזילוה, כי ראו ערוותה. כי נעננך ותשובחו, טומאתה בשוליה, לא זכרה אחריתה, ותרד פלאים, אין מנחם לה. ראה אדוני את עני, כי הגדיל אויב. ידו פרס צהר, על כל מחמדיה, כי ראתה גויים באו מקדשה, אשר ציווית לא יבואו בקהל לה. כל המנרחים מבקשים לחם, נתנו מחמדיהם באוכל להשיב נפש. ראה אדוני והביטה, כי הייתי זוללה. לא עליכם כל עוברי דרך, הביטורו. אם יש מחוב כמחובי, אשר עולה לי, אשר הוגה אדוני ביום חרון החום. ממרום שלח אש בעצמותיי וירדנה, פרס רשת לרגלי, השיבני אחור, נתנני שוממה כל היום דבר. נזכד עול פשעי בידו, הסתרגו, עלו על צווארי, הכשיל כוחי. נתנני אדוני, בידי לא אוכל כול. צילה כל אבירי, אדוני בקרבי, קרא לי מועד לשבור בחורי. גת דרך אדוני, לבתולת בת יהודה, על אלה אני בוכייה, Eini Yorda Mayim Ki Rachak Mimeni Menachem Meshiv Nafshi Hayu Vanai Shomemi Ki Gavar Oye Persat Zion Biadeha Ein Rachem La Tziva Adonai Le'Yakov Tziva Tzara Hayta Yerushalayim Le'nida B'neihem Tzadiku Adonai Kivu Mariti Shimnu HaKolamim Ur'u Machovi V'tulatayu V'achurai Hachu Vashevi Karati Lamahavai Hemalimuni Kvanai Uskenai Vayir Gavam Kibikshu Ochel Lamo Veyashivu Et Nafsham Re'ei Adonai Kitzar Li Me'ai Chamarmaru Nepach Libi Bekiri Kimaru Mariti Michutz Shiklach Erev Babayit Hamavet Shabu Ki Nenachani Ein Menachem Li Kol Oivai Shamurati Sasu Ki Ata Asita Hiveita Yom Karata Vayu Kamon Tavo Kol Ratam Lefanecha Ve'olel Lamo Asher Olalta Li Al Kol Peshawai Hirabotan Chotai V'libi Dava
לא זכר אדום רגליו יום אפו מילה אדוני לא חמה את עונות יעקב הרס עברתו מצרי בת יהודה הגיע לארץ חילל ממלכה שריה גדה בוכריה כל קרן ישראל השיב אחור ימינו מאויב וירא ויעקב יש לחווה כלל סביב דרך קשתו כאויב ניצב ימינו כצר יהרוג כל מחמדי העין יוהל בת ציון שפך כאש חמתו היה אדוני כאויב בלעילה ישראל בלעה כל ארמונותיה שיחת מבצרה וירב בבת יהודה תעניה בעניה ויתמוס כגן סוכו שיחת מועדו שיקח אדוני מציון מועד ושבת ינעץ בזעם אפו מלך וכהן זנח אדוני מזבחו נר מקדשו הזכיר ביד אויב חומות ארמנותיה כל. נתנו בבית אדוני כיום מועד. חשב אדוני להשחית חומת בת ציון, נתקיו לא השיב ידו מעליה. יבל חיל וחומה יחדיו אומללו. טבעו בארץ שעריה, איבד ושיבר ריחיה. מלכה ישבו בארץ ידמו זקני בת ציון, העלו עפר על ראשם, הגרו שקים, הורידו לארץ ראשן, בתולות ירושלים. כלו בדמעות עיניי, חומר מרוח מעי, נשפך לארץ והדי, על שבט בת עמי. הטף עולל ויונק ברחובות קריה, מבתם יאמרו איי דגן ויין, כתפם כחלה ברחובות עיר, והשתפך נפשם אל חק אמותם. מה אעידך, מה אדמה לך, הבת ירושלים, מה אשבה לך ונחמך בתולת הציון. כי גדול קיים שברך מרפאה. נביאייך חזו לך שבת אפל, לא גילו על עוונך, להשיב אותך. יעשו לך עשות שווא ומדוכים, ספקו עלייך כפיים כל עברי דרך, שרקו יניעו ראשם על בת ירושלים. הזאת היא שמרו כלת יופי, מסות לכל הארץ. פצו עלייך פיהם כל אויבייך, שרקו יחלקו שם, אמרו אילנו. אך זה היום שקיווינו, מצאנו ראינו. עשה אדוני אשר זמן, ביצע אמרתו אשר ציווה מימי קדם, הרס לא חמל. ישמח עלייך אויב, ערים קרן שרייך, צק ליבם אל אדוני, חומת הציון. הורידי חנכה דמעה יומם ולילה, הניפו גת לך, אל תדום בת עינך. קומי רוני בלילה, בראש השמורות, שפכי כמים ליבך, נוכח פני אדוני. שאי אליו כפייך, על נפש עול עלייך, עטופים ברב בראש כל חוצות. פרי אדוני להביטה למי עולת הכל. אם תאכלנה נשים פריים עולי טיפוחים, אם יהרג במקדש אדוני כהן ונביא. שכבו לארץ חוצות נער וזקן, בתולותיי ובחוריי נפלו בחרב. הרגת ביום אפיך, טבחת לא חמלת. תקרא כי יום מועד מגורי מסביב לא היה. יום אפרני חלית בשרי, אשר טיפחתי וריביתי, אוי וחילה.
אני הגבר, אני בשבט אברסו, עושי נוהג ויולך כושר כלואור, אך בישוב יהפוך ידו כל היום. מילה בשרי ויורי שיבר עצמוסי, בונה עלי ויקה פרושוס לואה, במחשכים הושיבני כמסי עולם. קדר בעדי ולא אצא יקפיד נחשתי, גם כי אזעק ואשבע ששם תפילתי. קדר דרכי בגזיז נסיבוסי איבה, דבריהו לי ארי במסתרים, דרכי סורר ויפשחני שמעני שומעים. דורה קשתו ויציבני כמטרה לחץ, הביא בכליוסי בני אשפסו, הייסי צחוק לכל עמי נגינה שם כל היום. הספיעני במרורים הרבני לנה, ויגרס בחצת שיני הכפישני באפר, ותשנח משלום נפשי נשיסי טובה, ואומר עובד נצחי וסוכלתי מאדוני. זכורני ומרודי לנה בראש, זכור תזכור וששוח עלי נפשי זוס, אשיב אל ליבי אל כנוקיל. חסדי אדוני כי לא שמנו, כי לא כלו רחמיו, חדשים לבקרים רבה אמונתך. חלקי אדוני אמרה נפשי, על כן אוקיל לו. טוב אדוני לקרוביו, לנפש תדרשנו, טוב ויקיל ודומם, לישועת אדוני. טוב לגבר, כיסאו בינו רב, ישב בדר וידם, כי נטל עליו, ייתן בעפר פיהו, אולי יש תקווה. ייתן למכהו, להכעיס בה בחרפה, כי לא יזנח לעולם אדוני, כי אם הוגה וריחם קרוב חסדיו, כי לא ינע מליבו ויגע בני איש. לדכא תחת רגליו כל אסירי הארץ, להטוס משפט קבר Fashanu Arinu Ata Salakta Sakazava Fenu Harakta Lo Kamalta Sakosavianan Lach Meavor Tefila Sechi Umaos Tesimenu Bekerevo Amim Patsu Aleinu PM Koloyavenu Pachad Vofachas Hayalanu Ashesu Yashaver Pagimaim Tiradeni Al Shever Basami Eini Nigara Velosid Me Ein Hafugos Adiashkif Veyere Adonai Mishamayim Eini Olala Lenafshi Mikol Benosiri Tzor Tzaduni Katsipor Oyavai Chinam Tzamesu Vabor Chayai Vayadu Even Bi Tzafu Mayim Aroshi Omarti Nigzarti Korasi Shimcha Adonai Mibor Taktios Koli Shomata Al Talei Mosnecha L'Rav Kasi L'Shavasi Koravta B'Yom Ekroeka Omarta Al Tira Ravta Adonai Rivei Nafshi Goalta Chayai Ra'isa Adonai Avasasi Shafita Mishpati Ra'isa Kol Nikmasam Kol Makshvosam Li Shomata Kerpasam Adonai Kol Makshvosam Alai Sivsei Komai V'Egyonam Alai Kol Hayom Shivta Mekimasam Abita Ani Manginasam Tashiv Lahem Gemul Adonai K'maseidehem Titein Lahem Megina Slave Talasecha Lahem Tirdof B'Av V'Sash Mideim Mitachas Shemei Adonai
Tisha B'Av Berosh Chokutzot B'nei Tzion Ha'ikarim Ha'mesulayim B'Paz Echad Nechshavu L'niv L'charas Masei Yedei Yotzer Kamtanim Chaltzu Shad Heiniku Gurehan Matami Leachzar Kainim Bamidbar Zavak Leshon Yonek Elchiko Batzama Olalim Shalulechem Hores En Lahem Hochlim Lamadanim Nashamu Bachutzot Hamanim Alei Tolah Chiveku Ashpatot Vayigdal Avon Batami Mechatat Sedom Hafuchat Chemoraga Velochaluva Yadayim Zaku Nezireha Mishaleg Zachu Mechalav Ademu Etzem Mipninim Sapir Gizratam Chashach Mishachor Taram Lo Nikaru Bachutzot Safad Oram Alatmam Yavesh Ayachet Tovim Hayu Chalecharev Mechalei Rav Shem Yazuvu Medukarim Mitnuvo Sadai Yedei נשים רחמניות בישלו ילדיהן, היו לברות למו בשבר בת עמי, כי לאדוני את חמתו שפך ארון אפו, ויצד אש בציון ותאכל יסודותיה, לא האמינו מלכי ארץ כל יושבי תבל, כי יבוא צר ואויב בשערי ירושלים, מחתו נביאה עוונות כהניה, השופכים בקרבה דם צדיקים, נאו עברים החוצות, נגואלו בדם, ולא יוכלו ייגעו בשבושיהם, צורותם מת. יוסיפו לגור, פני אדוני חילקם, לא יוסיף לביתם, פני כהנים לא נשאו, וזקנים לא חננו, עודנו תכלנה עינינו, אל עזרתנו הבל, בציפייתנו ציפינו, אל גוי לא יושיע, צעדו צעדנו, מלאכת ברחובותינו, קרב קצנו, מלאו ימינו קיצנו, קלים היו רודפינו, מנשרי שמיים, על ההרים דלקונו, במדבר ערבו לנו, רוח אפינו משיח אדוני, נלכד בשחיתותם, אשר אמרנו בצילו נחיה בגויים, סיסי ושמחי בת אדום, יושבת בארצות, גם עלייך תעבר כוס, תשכרי ותתארי, תמונך בציון, לא יוסיף להגלותך, פקדונך בת אדום, גילה חלטותייך.
זכור אדוני עמיתך ורחתנו, נחלתנו תפעל לזרים, לעשנו לנערים, יתומים היינו אלינם, אמתנו שלמנות, בימינו בכסף שתינו, עצנו במחיר יבואו, על צווארנו נרדפנו, יגענו לא נחלנו, מצרים נתנו יד, אשור נספו עליכם, אבותינו חטאו ואינם, ואנחנו עוונותיהם סבלנו, עבדים משלו בנו, הורג אין מידם, בנפשנו נביא לחמנו, מפני חרב המדבר, הורינו תנור נחמרו, מפני זלעפות רב, נשים בציוננו, בתולב בערי יהודה, שרים בידם נתלו, בני זקנים לא נדרו, בחורים תיכון נשאו, ונערים בית כשלו, זקנים משער שבתו, בחורים מנגינתם, שבת מסוס ליבנו, הפך ליבל,
Mechalenu Nafla Ateret Roshenu Oinalanu Kichatanu Alzeh Ayat Gavel Libenu Aleile Hashlueinu Al Partian Sheshamein Shuaim Ilchua Ata Adonai Elam Tishrei Yisafa Midor Vador Laneta Ishtafenu Tazeinu Yamim Hashivenu Adonai Elecha Vinashuva Alishameinu Yekedem Mos Nastinu Katav Talenu Admel Hashivenu Hashivenu Adonai Elecha Vinashuva Alishameinu Yekedem.
Continue with the Kinos on page 48 in the Matzvah Kinos. Said responsibly. Zuchar Adonai mehayalanu ay habiturei asar paseinu ay mehayalanu naglaseinu nefal zarim ay batil nafrim ay mehayalanu yesemi mayina beinav ay masinu mekanas b'chayishav ay mehayalanu himena b'chesef shasinu ay kinisucha mayim basinu ay mehayalanu Atavarenu nirdafnu ay kisinas kinam radafnu ay mehayalanu Mitzrayim nasanu yad ay vashur tzadunu katzayad ay mehayalanu Avazenu chatuvinam ay vanal sablim savinam ay mehayalanu Avadim ashlubanu ay shlach avadim batanu ay mehayalanu Nafshenu navilat menu ay kitzatavta me'aniyatenu ay mehayalanu Varenu gasanu nifmaru ay kipodam kalain emiru ay mehayalanu Nashim b'tzianinu ay kish esheishu timu v'zanu ay mehayalanu Sorim v'yadam nislu ay kikterasani chamesu v'gazlu ay mehayalanu Bachorim d'chayna nasanu ay v'besanan nimtza ay mehayalanu Z'genim mishar shavasu ay mishpat yasamam ay v'su ay mehayalanu Shavasayz misayz libeinu ay Yirtulu ay le rabbeinu ay mehayalanu Nafla tersher sheinu ay Kinishra beis megdasheinu ay mehayalanu Azayad apel libeinu ay Kinivtal vayde beis ma'avayenu ay mehayalanu Al hartzion sheshamim ay Yarabais mishaymim ay mehayalanu Advadina ay le'olam tishem Kizacha ladar vadar Lama netzach tishkachenu tazveinu la'irech yamim Hashivenu adina elecha v'nashuva chadei shameinu kekedem ki imas v'astanu hatzav aleinu ad mi'ai Hashivenu adina elecha v'nashuva chadei shameinu kekedem. The second kina that we say on Tisha B'Av night, we only say on Matzah Shabbos. We only say not like tonight. The refrain V'hinam Nishbas B'yem HaShabbos, B'Matzah Shabbos, that we are omitting V'hinam, the end of our davening tonight, is not going to have V'hinam, the tefillah that was said when the Mishkan was completed. Because since the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, that tefillah of Moshe Rabbeinu, V'hinam Hashem Elokeinu Aleinu, that the pleasantness of Hashem should rest on us and on the work of our hands. Tisha B'Av, we are mourning that was destroyed. And so even though it's Matzah Shabbos and that we usually daven for a successful week, how could we daven for a successful week when the house of Hashem, the greatest thing that the Jewish people have ever built, went up in flames. And 2,000 years later, we realize that everything that we do, everything that we're building, everything that we are achieving, doesn't hold a candle to what we are still yet hoping to achieve and still what we are hoping to rebuild. Page 52. Vinam nishbas b'motzei Shabbos. The third kinna is the kinna that recognizes that the things that we cry for, the things that we yearn for, are not always the things that are the most meaningful. The Chidush Arim points out in our Parshas Devarim, that when the Jewish people came to Moshe Rabbeinu complaining about Eretz Yisrael, the pasuk says that they all approached Moshe Rabbeinu. Rashi says B'Irbuvia. They came as a multitude. Says the Chidush Arim, there are some things in life that we rush for. There are some things in life that we line up like mensch. You can tell what kind of a person you are by one of the things that you say, it's okay, I'll wait my turn. And the things that you're desperate for. The things that you're rushing for. So to complain about Eretz Yisrael, we cried and we clamored. We rushed. We lost all sense of derech eretz. And to do mitzvah sometimes, you go first. Our priorities can always be told by the things that we are emotionally desperate for. What's the thing that we cry about? What's the thing that we cannot live without? Kina Gimel on page 54 in the article. We continue with the continuation of Marif with V'ata Kadosh. We leave out V'Noam Yoshev B'Seisha Elyon. It's been noted because us in Tfilas that Hashem is usually accepting our Tfilas is not listening. So we begin with V'ata Kadosh. If the Rebbeinu Shalom, Hashem, our therapist, is still listening to what we have to say, then please God, we should be zocheh to be able to celebrate this. V'ata Kadosh. Kadosh, 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 Kadosh.
Shein Ruach V'Sheyama Hara Kol Yarash Gadol Mikamo